to my heart gladly. But each day when she walks through the sea, she looks straight at me.
Great voice.
Oh, you're. So how long you been dealing with this hearing deficiency?
When she passes, I smile. She doesn't see.
We'll talk in a minute.
The look of love is in your eyes. The look your smile can't disguise. The look of love, it's saying so much more these words could ever say. And what my heart has felt, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Ooh, I can hardly wait to hold you, feel these arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. I love you so. Don't ever go.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Theater Talk Live. And this is a very special Theater Talk Live with a dear friend of mine, Maria Howell, and her buddy and accompaniment, Mr. Noel Freidline. Sorry. And my co-host, Michelle Saunders. Middle C Jazz. Talk to us a little bit about Middle C Jazz and what this all means to us, Maria.
Well, Middle C Jazz is a jazz venue. Well, it's a music venue that was opened in October of 2019. Noel and I opened the actual, had the opening event that weekend of, I can't remember the dates now, but, you know, they have several acts coming in, national acts, regional acts, local acts, and it's, you know, of course, it's once COVID hit, you know, that took put a punch in everything. So what we did was Noel and I started a live stream to keep that open, keep ourselves busy, as well as raising money for workers, service workers, and local musicians. So we did it for a straight 13-week run every Wednesday night, and we called it Notes from Middle C, is what you just witnessed.
Right.
In that video, so yeah.
And there's several of them up there because I've watched several really great performances by other musicians too.
Yeah, now that they have the, you know, online streaming is going to be the wave of the future, whether we like it or not, and because we have limited audiences to perform for. So Middle C has incorporated that element, and everybody that performs there is live streamed now. So we were
Okay.
actually doing the live streams. The first two we did at the venue, and then we moved the live streams to Noel's home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we did like 11 straight weeks at his home, which was very comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a question, Michelle?
Yeah. So where is Middle C located?
It's located in Uptown Charlotte, North Carolina, on Brevard Street, very close to the NASCAR Museum. It's a really nice venue. Yeah, it seats about, I guess, Noel, you have to correct me on this. I think about 200 people.
Yeah.
I think it seats about 200. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't wait till we can all come back to
Oh, yeah.
some normalcy where we can come together.
Forward to this interview, but I've had to cut. I'm not in my usual, not in North Carolina. I had to fly out to the Great Plains to help with my elderly parents, and they. I feel like I'm talking on a soup can through a string right now, and I'm catching about every eighth word. So I tell you what, rather than being a distraction, I'm gonna. I don't actually. I couldn't really hear what you were saying, but you were. I think you were saying. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I have. Okay. Well, yeah, it seats about 200. And, it's a live jazz. But yeah, we did that streaming show for 11 weeks out of my office in my house, and it probably looks a little bit bigger when you watch the video or if you watched it live. But in reality, for me to get to the keyboard, I literally had to crawl. And once Maria was sat down, it was like, okay, nobody move. It was so small, I had to go outside to change my mind, but
So talk to us a little bit about you guys' background and in music. Noel?
You going to start, Noel? Get maybe 3 or 4 words in there.
Musical background.
I'm going to, you know what? And I'm so sorry. I just can't, I'm not, if y'all hear me, that's great. I'm missing everything you're saying. So I'm just going to step out rather than be a distraction. Maria, I'm going to let you run with this because I keep losing your audio and the picture. I am so sorry, but to be honest with you, I just say whatever Maria tells me to say. All those jokes, that's all Maria anyway. So, I'm really just a puppet. Thank you all. Maria.
Right.
Talk pretty, sing pretty, and I hope y'all have a great day. I'll hopefully see you when I get to North Carolina, and we can have
Okay. All right. So talk to us a little bit about his background and how y'all met and collaborated.
Yeah. Noel and I met first of all, Noel graduated from University of Florida in Jacksonville.
Uh-huh.
And so he's traveled from, he's a staple in Jacksonville, Florida. As well as he's originally from Kansas, and he's lived in Las Vegas, performed there quite a few years at the Bellagio, the casino, and then he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and he moved his whole band to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then as time would happen, he got well known in the Charlotte area. We met about 10 years ago doing the Beckler Museum. I'm speaking as though the pandemic has had no effect, but monthly they have a show called Jazz at the Beckler series, headed up by Zia Rabia, a wonderful saxophonist here in the area. And so he hired, Noel was already on the event, and then they brought me in from California, and I performed, and Noel and I just had instant chemistry musically on stage. And so his regular singer who he had been working with relocated to Hawaii. And so Noel was like, hey, do you mind kind of filling in? And once I filled in, I've kind of like never left. It's been 10 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years.
And your background? You from Gastonia?
I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina. My background is I went to college in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, in HBCU. Studied biology. Studied biology. I have a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry. But here I am performing. It's what I really wanted to do. It's just that in my small town, you went to college to be a doctor, lawyer, teacher, that kind of thing. And I didn't have anybody guiding me to the School of the Arts, but I always kept that as what I wanted to do. And I always had the music classes in college. So once I got out of college, then I was able to, getting up to the career.
Okay.
Pursuing passion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
So, but Noel and I have a very similar way we approach music and our performances. So I think that's what makes us a good collaboration. Noel does quite a few things on his own. I do quite a few things on my own, but we realize that it would be advantageous to also add our collaboration to the mix, and that's where you get the Noel and Maria brand.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what made, I guess, you and Noel come together and say, hey, like, can you give us some insight on how the Middle C Jazz, the venue came out?
Well, the venue is not ours. Larry Farber is the head of that. And we've known Larry for decades. Larry was major in East Coast entertainment. So being very well known in the area, Larry asked us to open the club, to be the opening act. And so that's how that really started. And of course, once the pandemic hit, and I was on my way. I actually had flown back from Los Angeles, and I was on my way to London to do a film.
Mm-hmm.
But between that, we had an engagement. And I remember that was on March 14th. And I remember that night saying to Noel, hey, something's getting ready to hit real hard. They were to shut it down. So we need to start doing some live streams. That was it.
Okay.
And because we had some engagements that were on the books at Middle C, and Larry approached us, and I suggested, I said, let's call Larry. It's like he was thinking one thing and we were thinking the same thing. Let's do it at Middle C, because that way it will, legitimize it. And we, with the equipment and the lights and the stage, just the background was just right for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when they went into the other phase and shut everything down, we had to make a decision. And that's why we moved to Noel's home.
Yeah. I have a background in broadcast television in LA. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at the video, I mean, cameras and that's a lot of really nice equipment they're using.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, Noel is like a tech guru to me, because his son actually ran sound for us. See, we did ours in such a way where we had like an engineer, even in his home, we had an engineer that just made sure the sound was as best we could get it. We were shooting. We started actually with a phone, an iPhone, and then we moved up to camera. As the weeks went back, because we had no idea we'd be doing it for 13 weeks.
Wow.
We were thinking it was a one-off. And it's like, okay, people listen. We had about, I want to say about 15,000 people that tuned in that first week. And we were like, but see, we were one of the first groups to go into it, especially in the area.
Right.
And so next thing you know, we maintained about between 4,000 and 5,000 each week, So we were very, very fortunate. We just kept it going until we felt like it's time to stop.
Right. It's time to take a break.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even that. It's time to stop, because everything started opening back up. And we just felt, let's let them open up and not try to, compete with that. So.
Right.
Name some of the artists that you got, because on Middle C there was a promotion last weekend. I started watching different artists, and you got some more coming up this weekend, right?
Oh yeah. They've had Cy Smith, who I absolutely love. I know her. She sings with Chris Bodie. I'm talking more of the acts that are not here in the region. Mike Phillips.
I saw Mike
Tyrell in the very beginning, but that was before everything closed up. Ronnie Laws has been there. So, and they've got plenty more coming. But we just have to, I keep saying we, but they have to ensure that it's okay for people to travel, and they have a limited audience. They do their best, and they take out every precaution to keep people safe, So it's a different time. I mean, it's kind of interesting, because when this thing first started, everything just wiped away like instantly. The first couple of weeks, I'm like, oh, this is a great vacation. And then I'm going, wait a minute, I don't have any gigs. So, it is what it is. And they're gonna keep on going and do the best they can with, getting folks in there and live streaming, because they have like a 4-camera situation now.
Exactly. I saw that. Yeah.
Mhm. And one of our favorite regional groups is Robin Springer and Rodney Shelton. Oh,
Okay.
amazing. Yeah, they're friends of mine. And so, Charlotte has a real strong community.
It does.
And like I said, I have been away from this area for a long, long time. Now, my family's still in the area, so I would travel back and forth all the time. But right before, as the pandemic was hitting, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay planted because I don't want to get on an airplane right now. And so it was really, the timing and everything just worked out really well for me.
So before we get into your long career, let's talk a little bit more about your vocal training, because you got an amazing voice.
You are so sweet.
Really, and some of the albums or CDs that you have out where people can find them.
They can actually go to my website, mariahowell.com, and everything they need to know is right there. My training came from God. Let's just put it out there, because I didn't train. Let me back that up. I didn't formally train for a long, long time, because my mom sang. My mom was my first instructor. My mom used to play trumpet when she was in high school and college, and my mom knew music. So she helped me. We sang on the same church choir. Of course, that's where a lot of it starts. Church choir, high school choir, then the college choir, and then the select groups in college. And then after I graduated is when I really started studying, where I had to pay to study.
Okay. I understand. Yeah.
So I would always, I took theory and everything like that after I started working professionally.
Right.
But I think when God gives you a gift, you decide and you stay committed to doing the best you can with it. And that's what I did. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had some great instructors along the way, and it wasn't a coincidence. I'm very, very, very happy and blessed that I had the ones I had.
So have you ever found yourself a little torn? So, vocally you're gifted, and then you're still acting. And have you ever found yourself like, okay, well, which one do I want to pursue, or can I do them both?
When you are an independent artist, you do it all.
Right.
And actually right now, no, but to answer your question, Michelle, no, I have never, people ask me that all the time. They're like, which one do you choose? Which one do you do? I do them all. I actually at this time do more voiceover work than I do anything else, because I've been doing that for quite a few years, but that's not something that's really highly publicized. I mean, I do commercials, cartoons, video games, all that, narrating books, audio books.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you, so now you mentioned voiceovers. Do you find yourself doing that now a little bit more with the COVID, or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's pretty much the only job going in town. Because for one, I've had to upgrade my home studio so that no matter where in the world the engineers are, we can tune in, pipe into my home, and I can continue to do the job. And that's actually just the way it's going right now.
Right.
For me anyway.
So if someone was interested in voiceovers, I guess we do have a lot of students who are, from our performing arts department that are interested. I mean, what are like a couple of steps that they can take to get into that?
First of all, I would tell them to take vocal acting. Not a voiceover workshop only, vocal acting, because it's so much easier when you're on camera and you can do something with the eyes or something with the hand or the face, and people can get the gist of what you're talking about. But when you're doing a voiceover, it's all dependent on your voice.
Yeah.
And you really need to know what to do with that. That's the first thing I would tell them to do. And because, most people think just because they have a nice sounding voice, they can go into voiceovers. That's one part. But if you don't know what to do with your tools, so I highly recommend, you study vocal acting and learn the business and the technical side of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So talking about acting,
technical side, meaning what the standard is for your microphone, for the interface, for the editing software, and being able to Ethernet versus Wi-Fi, you know, all those mechanicals. Yeah, mechanics rather. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of acting, one of the first films you did and was singing in was Color Purple, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were in the choir.
Yeah, that's no coincidence, and wow, that was an experience. That story, so it's a serious
Tell us
story.
about it. We want to hear it. Go ahead.
Well, when I was actually out of college. I had just graduated from college. People thought I was 16 years old. It's really interesting. But someone approached me about it. And they said, hey, they've got this audition going on. And it would happen to be on A&T's campus. And I was living in Winston-Salem. I had just graduated from college. And I was like, I'm not going over there. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm kind of bashful.
Yeah. Oh.
I know that's hard to, you know, no, I'm serious, because there's a thing called learned behavior. I learned how to act like I'm not bashful, but I was really bashful, and they were like, "Go, Maria, go." I was like, you know, and I lived with this family my senior year in college, and they were like, "Go," and I was like, "Okay." I went. I think about 8 hours of a wait time. You know what a cattle call is? That's exactly what that was. And when everything was over, I had friends that went as well. And I basically was like, okay, I am not going to go away without them at least having my picture on file. So I went to the casting director and I asked, I said, well, look, because they had us on stage in groups, right? They didn't ask us to sing or anything. And then once we got off stage, I'm like, is that all? That's not what? So I was getting ready to go, and something said, don't go yet. My friends had left. And I was kind of bashful, like I said, and I kind of crept up to her and I asked her, I said, well, look, do you mind keeping my photo on file? And I handed her a photo. Didn't even know what a headshot was then. So she said, okay, I will. And I said, oh, and by the way, I sang. That was it. And she's like, well, what do you know? And I sang God Bless the Child in her ear.
Wow.
In her ear. Did you notice I said in her ear?
Yeah.
I didn't sing out loud because I was like too afraid to sing out loud. And so I'd like, and I sang in her ear, and she says, oh, okay, do you know any gospel? She said, go to the side, get about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and work out something and come back. I don't even remember what I sang at that point, but I got back up on stage alone this time, not in a group.
Right.
And that was my screen test, and I didn't realize what was going on.
Wow.
I went back to work the next day. I was satisfied because all I wanted was to keep my photo on file.
That's right.
I was like, I'm done. And so once I got back to work the next day, I got a phone call that asked if I wanted to be part of the choir. And I'm like, yeah. Sure. And I went down and I auditioned for a solo spot, because the choir was one thing, but you had to audition for the solo as well. And 24 years later, I found out that the person that cast me for the solo spot, Quincy Jones' right hand man. Of course, Quincy and Steven Spielberg had something to do with that as well. But he told me that the specs, and you both can relate to this, the breakdown was nothing like what I look like.
Oh, okay.
Nothing like what I look like. And the assistant music director basically said, I want to go with someone that reminds me of my mom.
Oh.
And that's it. That's how I got that part.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
then we fast forward, and it's released, and then I cried when I first saw it because I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get cut out of the movie. And
so we're talking with Maria Howell, who is really you're understating your career, because I'm gonna name a few things you've been in. Okay. Let's start with Addicted, Finding Carter, Devious Maze, Necessary Roughness, The Blind Side, Army Wives, Daddy, Little Girls, Color Purple. What else? Hidden Figures, The Have and the Have Nots, Criminal Minds.
Revolution is one of my favorites. That was a favorite TV show on NBC. That was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Revolution. I got to work with Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But you know, you and I met at the 2019 National Black Theater Festival, and you were previewing this short film called Bewilder. And I want to show this little 2-minute clip right now, and then we'll talk about it. Okay.
Anytime, I'll tell you. The bottom line question, and the first question, is the boot worth the squeeze?
This story is about love. It's a true love story. It's a story of compassion, empathy, and it explains it in such a creative way about the love between a family, actually. And it deals with dementia, something that is very prevalent these days. And a lot of us are hit with this situation.
I read the script and I wanted to do it immediately. I love the subject matter. I mean, what it addresses. It's so very important. My stepfather, before he passed, began to have dementia issues. I love stories that are about families and about men that aren't 27.
Very touching and very careful and caring way that Gregor and Ann have crafted this and framed it, and around the style of music that I love. So it melds this music and this art and the connection. It shows how Joseph was so strong in the beginning, and then he's weak, but then there's this nice resolve, a resolution of dignity still toward the end.
These two people have gone through the gauntlet and the gamut of challenges in relationships. By the time we get to the end, those good days that outweighed the bad days get them through this rough patch and the possibility of navigating through whatever this is going to be. Because there's hope here.
Keith David and Maria Howell. You cannot get through this short film without crying.
No. I still cry.
I mean, the story, and Keith just does, oh my God. You do a wonderful job too, but playing that character of him losing his memory and see it go and go. And when he didn't remember you, your character.
Oh, wow. It's a touching, it's a moving piece. That's what I have to say. And
so how did this happen? Talk to us about how it came about.
Well, in approximately 1993, Keith and I had done a TV show called The Young Indianapolis Chronicles with George Lucas. And Jeffrey Wright played my boyfriend. And so we basically met then, and then years fast forwarding, Gregor Wilson and his wife worked in production. And so when they wrote their own film and they thought about this music that they love also, they thought of Keith and myself. So they were like, let's get them to do it. So they asked us, and I was on board right away. Because I mean, I love them, and they told me Keith was in it. I was like, yeah, I think I'll do it. Yeah, but when I read the script, I just cried, and I was like, yeah, I gotta do it.
You know, when people came out, Michelle, I was there shooting, and I shot interviews with people who saw the short film, and they were just, they thought it was phenomenal. And they all said that they had people who they knew who had Alzheimer's and how much it touched them.
Yeah, it opened up a lot of conversation, and the Q&As everywhere we've gone. We've actually done a collaboration with Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta, and the psychiatry department, talking about this kind of thing. And the Q&A to me takes just as long as the film, because
Right.
it really sparks a lot of conversation. Yeah, everybody's affected by this.
I know.
And go ahead.
Well, similar, when I see movies like that, it really makes me think about my mother. Well, my mother had dementia before she passed.
Oh, okay.
And you know, that is the hardest thing, because one day we'll have a conversation and the next she was like, well, I didn't say that. And I'm like, yeah, you did. But this is before. And here's the crazy, because I know as parents, especially my mom and my dad, I mean, they're no longer here, but being the only child, they're like, okay, well, you know, we don't want to burden you with our problems. And so when returning back to North Carolina to take care of my parents, I didn't realize how much their health has declined. But one of the things that I refused to do is to put them in a nursing home until I had to. Wow. And so when my mom didn't tell me about her having dementia, it wasn't until, honestly, that I got the, you know, like the power of attorney, the medical power of attorney on top of the doctors. Because at one point, it's like, okay, my mom, you just told me one thing, and then, you know, you don't, and you tell me something different. And honestly, it really made me learn more about Alzheimer's and dementia, because, you know, my mom always, you know, saw me as a child, and most parents do. And I'm like, okay, I got 2 kids. But it didn't.
It's hard enough. It's hard enough when parents get older and our roles switch, but then you want to add dementia and Alzheimer's on top of that.
On top of that, it's like the hardest thing. And so for that movie, and to on to the next topic. On to the next topic.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
It is. It hits home, and I believe to a lot of Americans who have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Who really have to face that. Yeah.
And I saw the talkbacks. One, you pulled your phone out, had Keith on the phone, talking to the audience, and it's just phenomenal. So, is it going to become a feature film one day, or?
Well, that's the plan. We were actually supposed to be finishing out or elongating the film this spring.
Okay.
And so
and COVID happened.
Yeah, a lot of things got put on hold. So we'll see.
Definitely.
I'm praying that because I've read the full script, and it's amazing. It has a lot of backstory.
Well, as I was reading all your credits, could you give actors a little tips on how you succeed in business? I mean, they need an agent, of course, and choosing projects to work on.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a whole other show. The first thing I tell people first, and this has come with age and experience and a lot of knowledge. First of all, you need to know what your calling is.
Right.
Let's start there. Know what your purpose and callings are, because I think callings come at different callings come at different places and times in your life. But know what that is at this point, so you know how to enter. And people sometimes get a little frustrated because they're like, "Oh, I may be a certain age and I'm too old." I don't look at it that way. I look at it like you can get in any kind of way, no matter which way you enter into the business. Start learning as much as you can. Do some history, learn some history. But also know where you fit, because that's what I said, know what your calling is, because a lot of people are too busy trying to be like somebody else when they may be missing what they need to be in the business. But learn everything you can. Know your type. Don't just, I know what my type is. I'm not just the African American or Black woman authoritative, but I am that commanding Black woman. I know specifically where I fit. And so those are the roles I know going to be my sweet spots. Not that I can't do other roles, but I know what my sweet spots are. And once I got into that, knowing that, it enabled me to understand what to study. And I know that's kind of vague and very general, but you got to know where you fit. And study. And stop expecting.
Y'all hear that?
And stop expecting it to happen overnight. Enjoy the journey. You know, 'cause a lot of people, they don't chase the money. I know they've heard this over and over. Don't chase the money. If you're authentic and you're true in it and you do it for the right reasons, the money will come.
Right.
Don't worry about all that part, because you'll get frustrated every other day. Because there have been plenty of jobs and I'm going, I know I was good for that. And I didn't get it.
Right.
It wasn't mine to get. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was just sitting here thinking as you were talking about basically knowing who you are and where you stand in the industry. So once a person figure that out, so let's talk about the business side of things. Do you think that they should take a business class of some sort that can help them along the way? Because I know a lot of times we have seen different departments, you know, students will go to perfect their, you know, their gift, their talent, their craft, but then they're missing that business component. And this is something I've always talked to the students when I see them, because everybody doesn't want to be an educator. I'm like, take my marketing class, you know, as an elective, only because, I mean, marketing at the end of the day is the same on any platform. It's just a matter of tweaking it to fit what you're looking for. So, I mean, would you recommend, you know, students to take some form of a business?
I'm sorry, did I shake my head too fast? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as we move forward in life, and it just leans that way, because they should call it business show instead of show business.
Right.
Trust.
Right.
Every person needs to know the business of their craft. The craft is great, but unfortunately, it's like being a school teacher. You test more than you actually get a chance to teach. There is business involved than meets the eye. I have learned the hard way to it's like an ongoing. Never even get into your minds that you'll stop learning. It's just continuous for the rest of the career. But I would totally marketing, like what you teach, music business, acting business, all of that. Yes, and yes, because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. I'm just gonna blanket it. You're gonna need it. I can't emphasize that enough.
And you know what? And I hear that all the time. Working with different artists, whether it's musicians, visual arts, acting, and you know, with what I do at my job, you know, I have to be hands-on with a lot of our artists, and I'm always asking that question, like, hey, you know, how do you feel about this? Because some of them have actually said they went to school and they just only focus on their craft. It was like, okay, I had a gig, now what? Or okay, I don't have a gig, so what am I supposed to be doing?
Because I think this is the true thing. You are your brand. You are your business. You know how to market and promote yourself. Because you're not always gonna have somebody to know what's in here. You have to articulate that to somebody. And if you can't do it yourself, you need to know what kind of person you need to do your business. So no matter, at the end of the day, you still need to know business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's
I went to law.
That I was sitting there telling the students, even in my class, I had some talented students, and I had to tell them, I said, okay, well, at least you're taking the class, so you know what to look for when someone else. I mean, no, everybody can't be, you know, jack of all trades.
Right.
But one of the things that we've seen probably from the past, when artists have been taken advantage of, then they come out broke on any platform, all because they didn't know the backside. It's like, I did all this work and our blockbuster was, you know, like 2.1 million, and I'm only walking away with $50,000. Like, what happened?
And then they get upset because they don't understand why. And it's about knowledge. Yeah.
But you got to read that contract. You got to read that contract, you know, and you can't depend on other people to read your contract, right? You better know what's in that contract.
I got stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
okay, cool. That is
marketing. You do an excellent job of marketing. We see Middle C Jazz everywhere. I mean, it's just, and it comes up on my email just like that.
Like an ad on the side of a website.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the banners. Right here.
Well,
Go
another thing too, I'd like to throw in there. It's in addition to business, learn to network. And network doesn't mean give a card or take a card. Networking means having patience enough and care enough to build relationships. The relationship, and that's where a lot of, like, at this point in my life, that's where a lot of my work comes from all the relationships I've built. A big chunk of it, especially when it comes to music, because I built the relationships with the musicians, with the, with the venues. So, and trust, they trust me. I'm reliable. They know I'm going to show up and do my job. And so it's about relationships. It's about knowing, again, who you are and taking care of that.
That is true. I know with some of our performances and events that we have, when I started this position, it was like, okay, where do I get started? And I'm going to tell you guys that use your resources. And I was like, wait, what? Even though I network, I don't network to say, like you said, okay, can I get your business card? Can I get your business card? But it was that staying in contact and communicating. But you know, it's also how you treat people.
That's it.
You know, it's like, really? I mean, there's so many things. Man, another show. I was getting phone calls from people that I would never imagine saying, hey, a friend of mine spoke, highly of you. We would like to bring this show to you. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, are you serious? Yeah. But it is definitely the relationship and the networking piece. And it's not so much as it's not always what you can get from it. I believe it's just being genuine when you go in there. And I really believe that people can read through all of the fake stuff. And even if they can't,
it'll come back to you.
It'll come back, right.
And not in a pretty way. It's the boomerang theory.
We try to teach our students that, Maria. We teach acting. And it's not about how good you act. It's about whether or not you're willing to learn, whether you come on time, and whether you are ready off book. It's your practices. It's like, and why am I going to send you out somewhere for you to make me look bad? You done lost your mind. You're going to not do what you're supposed to do with me, and yet somebody's going to give you a referral. No, that's not the way I work.
I told somebody a long time ago, and I say it quite often, but every job, even musicians I'm working with that I've known a long time, if I'm not consistent and reliable, they're watching me. Every job is being interviewed on, no matter what your industry is, you are being interviewed because people are watching you and they pay attention to your work ethic. You know what I mean? So if you are not on your game, if you're not a caring person, people don't want to work with people they don't want to work with and that are going to give them trouble. They're going to give them stress. No.
That's right.
It's like we surround ourselves like, no, it's something really amazing that he says, and I've adopted it too. He says he's only got a certain number of breaths left on this earth, and he wants to use them wisely. He wants to pick people and be surrounded by people that you care about. About you that are into, you're both on the same page trying to be artistic together, that kind of thing. It matters. It matters.
Absolutely.
Teaching character, we do all of that. I'm a theater teacher, so we teach how, you got to learn your character. You can't then just go do some research if you don't know your character. Actors sometimes think that I can act, it's just easy. No, it's just like any other profession.
Yes, it is.
To do your research and know something about things.
Let me tell you what, when I get a script, the first thing I do, I read through it, make sure it's something I would do, that I would say yes to, because I'm not afraid to say no to stuff. Right. And I don't feel like I'm in any position to be acting like I'm all that, but I will say no if it doesn't go with my core, because I am a person first. I am this first. But at the same time, I go and I look up the producers, I look up the casting director, I look up other people in it, I scroll down there, I do that kind of research in addition to the character and the character. And it matters to me, because when I walk in that room, there may be something that can strike up a conversation, you know, that I might know that the other actors don't know.
Right.
I did my work. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think they'll see that you've done your homework.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, that kind of like, oh, well, she knew all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's that little extra pin. I think that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
And once you've worked with someone, this is mostly in TV and film though, or commercials. Once you've worked with someone, and they know your work ethic. If it's in place,
Right.
they may call you back. You know what I'm saying? They remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were good to work with. You were pleasant on set. You know, it's the same thing in theater. You know, if you know, I'm getting a job and I'm all about the craft and all about making sure I care about everybody else as well, they want to work with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing. So I know that we talked about the talented music side and the acting side. So I did a little research that you was a big supporter of Students Without Mothers.
Okay.
That's my chair.
Could you give us some insight on how, you know, you came about and you connected with them?
Yeah, I actually was performing in Atlanta. I used to perform for 9 straight years at Sambuca Jazz Cafe. And one night they had an event, and it was on the night that I was working. So we took a break, and then they had some folks get up and say a few things about the charity. And as I was sitting there, I was like, this sounds really interesting, because they talked about scholarships. And I'm all about scholarships because I was in college on a scholarship. So I know what that means. Then they started talking about students that were coming out of high school that didn't have their mothers. And I couldn't imagine that, because every time I come home on a trip from college, I sat down and talked with my mom till she went to sleep on me. I mean, literally, I was so excited about college. And I couldn't imagine going to college without my mom. So that speech touched me. And I went up to the founder and I said, hey, look, I want to be a part. What can I do to help? And she still tells the story to this day. And I think it's been over about 10 years. It's been over 10 years since I've been involved. And she says, yeah, okay. Outwardly, she was going, okay, sure, I'll call you. Inside, she was like, yeah, right, here's another one that wants to come and help. But I know okay. And so they allowed me to join the board of directors. And now I'm on the advisory board. So I've been a part of that group for over about 10 years now, something like that.
Okay. What kind of program do they have?
It's high school seniors who are going to college. We just raise scholarship funds. We have several major events throughout the year that are the big fundraisers. And I hosted the annual luncheon, scholarship luncheon this year. And it's just a wonderful bunch of folks, I think it's about 11 or 12 of us on the board. And we have students, about 16 students, that, you know, because every 4 years there's like 4 students. We give out $1,000 scholarships. These are not huge scholarships, but we are like supplemental scholarships. And the reason why this was founded, Mary Torrance Williams is the founder. She lost her mother early in life. And so when her daughter came home one time saying that, Mom, I've got a friend that wants to go to college, but her mom's not living and she doesn't have a lot of money to go to college. So Mary personally tried to help raise funds for this young lady. And with that said, other people started helping Mary raise funds. And then it became a charity, you know, so that was before I became a part of it. But yeah, I've been very, very proud. There's a second charity that I'm involved with also called Ava's Heart. So those are the 2 that I really, really support and I go out and do things for.
Okay. You said Ava's Heart?
Ava's Heart. And this is a friend of mine. Her name is Ava. Ava Kaufman, and she's in California, and she had a heart transplant. This is about transplantation. And what they do is they provide, they fulfill the needs of people when they're between the surgery and the hospital, when they don't have those little needs met, like transportation to the hospital, to doctor's appointments, childcare, those things that have fallen in the gaps. Yeah, I got involved with them as well. So I have 2 that I really support.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about current events now. John Lewis passing and what he meant to the civil rights movement.
You know, that It's interesting you should ask about that, because just today, because I'm a big PBS supporter, and I was just looking at something, and I don't believe in coincidences. And there's John Lewis on my television. John Lewis passed away from the same thing that my mother passed away from, pancreatic cancer. And he actually died the day before my mother's birthday.
Wow.
And so, you know, me and my whole family, we've been talking about that quite a bit. But when I was listening to his speech, I literally broke down in tears, because he was the last surviving speaker from that day.
March.
Yeah, right. And with him, he was, to me, was such a quiet fire, you know, wasn't as demonstrative as a lot of the civil rights leaders were. He was just right there, steady just in there. And as I was listening to him speak, all I could think about was, thank God he was here on this earth during that time. You know, that he had something to say. He had something to say decades after. And I'm just so glad that people had a chance to have him around as long as we had him. But I think he was a very, very important part of the whole movement. How he articulated his points really hit home with me.
Right.
Because I do believe in nonviolence. I do believe in peace and love, and that's what he promoted. So I'm glad that he was around as long as he was, to keep that torch burning.
There's a real old black and white film called Time for Justice, and I to my class in African American theater, and it's narrated by Julian Bond, but it's through the Freedom Rise, sit-ins, the march on the Pettus Bridge, the bombing of the girls at the church, and it covers everything. And so there's just silence when I get through with that film, because these students don't know anything about that. You know, all the footage in there is live footage that happened in this country. You have to make anything up. They caught it right there live with them sicking dogs on protesters and putting fire hoses on them. And
there's something very disturbing that I feel, and I guess this is because I've gotten older. I've always been interested in that kind of thing anyway. And my mother lived through a lot of that. I will never forget the time I took her to Birmingham, Alabama, and we went to the Civil Rights Museum. And as we were walking to the museum, we had to go through this archway. And I don't know if you've ever been there or not, in that park right across from the 16th Street Baptist Church, there is an archway. And you walk through this archway, and inside of it are dogs lunging out at you. It's like statues of dogs' heads. And it gives you the most eerie feeling of dogs attacking you, or about to attack you. I will never forget that as long as I live. We got into the museum, and my mother, because she had experienced a lot of the Jim Crow laws, she was holding court with some kids that were doing some reports, and my mom could give them information firsthand. I just let her talk, because my mom was a history buff. But just seeing that whole thing and going through the 16th Street Baptist Church, my heart, what bothers me right now, if anything bothers me at all, is there is a detachment of history and a desire to know that history, and understanding that we are on the shoulders of everything that John Lewis and his contemporaries were going through. I mean, who can imagine being at a march and you get hit with a nightstick? You have a concussion, going to jail. Who? We wouldn't deal with that now. We wouldn't anyway. But the things that they went through for us, it's like, if you don't even know the history, at least respect it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Respect it. And I'm very passionate about that kind of thing. It really, really upsets me when I see people that just want to jump on a bandwagon and fight for this, and yet don't really know what they're fighting for.
Right.
That part I'm really tender about right now.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think about people when you go out and you see them not in masks during this COVID time?
I think two things. I think that some just don't care about others.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care about others, you don't care about yourself. You think you care about yourself, but you don't care about yourself.
Right.
You're supposed to be taught, or we're supposed to know that you treat others the way you want to be treated. And if you don't care, if you don't treat the other person with respect, that means there's something going on inside. I'm always this person that says, look in the mirror, deal with yourself. But I think that one thing, I think that they probably don't care about others.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is I don't know. I think some of it's become political.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We got to vote.
Yeah.
We got to vote.
Yeah. And again, it's the detachment of where's your head? Because be healthy. I don't know. I really, unless I'm in somebody's shoes, I really don't know the reason why, because I won't go ask somebody when I see them in public without a mask. I don't want to get into an altercation. I really don't know. I don't know, but that's how I feel.
So you got a couple of new projects on the horizon. 1,000 Flames.
Oh yeah, the film that I was going to London to do, and that's on hold for now. And I've done one film with those wonderful people in the UK, but right now everything's on hold. And I did a Homeless Ashes film.
And what about Buy Some Billy?
Bygone Billy.
Bygone. I wrote it. I can't read my own writing.
That's okay. Bygone Billy. I did another film with them, which is again talking about networking and relationships.
Right.
Once you work with someone, they want to work with you again. They just kind of send you scripts. But that's a wonderful film too. That I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Okay. All right.
It was a little different than what I'm used to playing. But it's a suspense thriller. And it's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
So what's your favorite film you were in? Real quick, Michelle, then you can come back. What's your favorite film? I mean, when I'm saying is not just in, but was the working conditions, the whole release and on the spot.
I was gonna say, yeah, put her on the
it's
spot.
not hard.
Yeah, I did. Give me two then.
Because you gave me those parameters.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Okay.
That was the biggest budget. Am I saying that correct? The biggest budget film that I've ever done. And I was the whole time I'm doing it, I'm going, God, they spent money on that. Wow, they spent that was one because of it exposed me to, oh, this is how that's done. Okay. The Color Purple, of course, will always be my baby because that's the first film I was ever in. And to have Steven Spielberg and Quincy Jones,
right,
not too shabby. So, and I learned so much. I actually read the book while we were filming because I knew nothing about Color Purple. So that was very special.
I actually went to Long Beach State University, and one of my lecturers was Steven Spielberg when he came.
Right. Such a nice man. Oh,
yeah.
Such a nice man. That's funny. Cool.
Michelle, you got a question?
I was just gonna say, before we get off, we would normally ask our guests. So give us 3 takeaways that you would like nuggets that you would. I mean, the whole interview was nuggets, but like 3 solid things that you would tell our audience, our students, those who are interested in whether it's vocals, acting. Just say, hey, go do this, or
Yeah, I would say dig deep first. Dig deep to know what it is you want and who you are. Know that first. Second of all, care about others. 3, learn the business of the industry. Learn the business.
Absolutely.
So I know you can't wait to get back to work like all of us, you know. Our season got canceled, Agape Theater Project, and we're waiting to get back in the theater. So meanwhile, I'm doing a play where it's going to be on Zoom, and it's basically stage readings. And I've been in some too since this COVID, and plus we'll be teaching online. So yeah, we just can't wait to, you know.
Everything is going to look so different. I would advise people, I'm going to throw a fourth nugget in there.
Okay.
Learn new things that you can do and how you can do them, because I didn't realize I had other skills and how I could really expand on those, because the world is looking different. And even with acting, like you're talking, Ken, to do readings, come up with ways to present yourself and to promote yourself and to showcase the skills that you have and the talents that you have. You know, it's a different world.
That's right.
It's going to be a different thing going forward.
And I think what we need to do is, like you said, self-evaluate. What else can I do that will tie into where we are right now? How can I stay relevant? How can I stay active?
Right.
And keep my presence.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, whether it's a business or an individual who haven't been doing that, even though COVID can be its negative thing, but I think it's a positive thing, because it's a point where it slows you down to say, okay, let me reevaluate. What was it that I wasn't doing that I can possibly do now? Or what was it that I wasn't focused on where, it was a weakness, now I need to make it a strength. And I think that is important.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Exactly. I'm serious, because so many people are like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You got a lot more in you than you know. And even if, like, writing a book.
Right.
A lot of people are writing books right now.
Yeah. I'm writing 2 plays. I'm writing a 1 act, and I'm writing a full length. I will. Because I see you know how to network, and you know how to, you really are out there. And we're getting ready to end this, but just bring it all to fruition for us as an actress who are getting, when COVID is over, what do you look forward to doing out there?
Well, actually, I'm building my voiceover career more than ever right now. So I'm going to think of ways of doing that, as well as learning more about live streaming, how to monetize that, as well as producing and doing my own short films.
Right.
You can, and narrate them, because if I can't get around any other actors, at least I can do like you're doing a 1 act. You said a 1 act play,
right?
Do 1 act plays and film them,
right?
Keep my skills sharp and encourage others to do the same. Because also the 4th component of what I'm doing is coaching and consulting online. So that people can understand there are other things you can do. Because it doesn't always translate into, I'm going onto a movie set next month or the month after that. What are you going to do in the meantime? Right. Create your own films.
And, people are just sending me scripts, and I have to read them, and I have to, tell them what this looks like a film script more than a theater script. Because some playwrights, they you have to have that background. I've been in theater, I've been in film, I do TV, so. Like you said, you got to be versatile, right?
Yeah, it calls for that. It begs for it right now. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I know how to grow some tomatoes too.
Okay, so you grow the tomatoes. I'm gonna go south on it. I'll can them.
Okay. We got a business.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Well, we want to thank our listeners for joining us on Theater Talk Live. Michelle and I are going to take a little vacation, 2 weeks off. We're going to be replaying our videos in this slot. But coming back on August 16th, we've got a reunion of the 2017 cast of Funny Colored Women. And they are Marianne Alder, Roxanne Reese, Hermine Rise, Holly Lene, and Rhonda Hanson. Some funny ladies. So we'll be back on August 16th, Sunday, with more Theater Talk Live. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Marie.
Thank you both. Thank you both, and have a wonderful 2 weeks off.
Oh, yes. And thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Everyone have a blessed weekend or a blessed week.
Right. Have a blessed week. Good night.
Good night.